tonight on First at 9 this Friday, the 3rd of July 2026. Connecting threads. Former Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa in Dubai when bribe linked to Harakata was accepted, Bribery Commission informs court. Suspects arrested over the matter including Rakita Rajapaksa and Charita Singha further remanded until July 17th. Rough seas ahead. Admiral of the Fleet Vasanthakara Nagude released on bail following arrest by Bribery Commission. Former Navy commander accused of complicity in Yoshida Rajapaksha's purportedly unlawful Navy recruitment. Sickle sorrow. Farmers continue to protest demanding fair prices for paddy. Agriculture Minister vows to restructure Sri Lanka's irrigation sector. Slashed. Litrogas Lanka announces price drops with effect from midnight tonight.
BYD සේවයට පැසසීමක් ජීවිතයට සැනසීමක්.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on the Derana News channel. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms. Recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, your top story tonight, the Bribery Commission has informed the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court that the former Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa was in Dubai when 3 suspects, including his son Rakita Rajapaksa and Charita Singha, allegedly accepted a 120 million rupee bribe from the wife of organised crime figure Nadun Chitnaka Vikramaratne alias Harakata. The Commission further claims that 20 million rupees from the sum were later returned at former Minister Rajapaksha's residence. During proceedings related to the matter today, the Colombo Chief Magistrate further remanded the 3 suspects arrested over the matter until the 17th of July.
Legal proceedings against former Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksha's son Rakita Rajapaksa, former Horana electorate organizer for Samag Jana Balawege Charita Singha and former Airport and Aviation Services Executive Director Aruna Varusha Handige. Legal proceedings against former Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksha's son Rakita Rajapaksa, former Horana electorate organizer for Samag Jana Balawege Charita Singha and former Airport and Aviation Services Executive Director Aruna Varusha Handige resumed today before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. The trio, who are accused of soliciting a 120 million rupee bribe in exchange for providing favours for organised crime figure Nadun Chintaka Vikramaratne alias Harakata, who was under CID custody, were produced before the court. Assistant Director of the Bribery Commission's Legal Division Anusha Sambandha Peruma, presenting an investigative progress report, informed the court that investigators' attention has been drawn to the fact that former Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksha, the father of the second suspect, was in Dubai when the bribe was allegedly received. Assistant Director Sambandha Peruma told court that the 3 suspects had travelled to Dubai on March 25, 2023 to conduct the transaction, returning on the 29th. Investigations had revealed that during the same period, the father of the second suspect, then Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksha, had also been present in Dubai. He had departed on March 21st and returned on the 28th, one day before the accused. She said investigators were working to determine why he had travelled to Dubai, who he had met, and whether he had any connection to the crime. She further told court that 20 million rupees out of the 120 million received as advance had been refunded. That money had been handed by the first suspect Charit Singha to a man named Lasantha and sent through Midigamaruan and Nirmala Bandara alias Herbie to Harakata's wife Madhuwanti. The handover had taken place at Vijayba Mawatha in Navalapara, Nugegoda, which investigators had since revealed to be the residence of Vijaydas Rajapaksha himself. Sambandha Peruma added that calls and WhatsApp messages on phones seized from the suspects at the time of arrest were currently being examined and that investigations into their assets were being conducted under the Proceeds of Crime Act. She said steps were also being taken to record a statement from Harakata's wife, who is currently abroad, and that investigators intended to probe the conduct of CID officers during the period Harakata had been held in CID remand custody following his extradition from Madagascar. She concluded by requesting court to remand these suspects until investigations were concluded pursuant to a certificate submitted under Section 149(1) of the Anti-Corruption Act. Subsequently, counsel for Charit Singha, Asoka Veerasurya, moved for bail on behalf of his client. Rejecting all charges, the council told court that Abhay Singha had instructed him that he had not travelled abroad in 2024, the year the money was alleged to have been received. Counsel Veerasurya further argued that the application to remand the suspect until the conclusion of trial under Section 149(1) of the Anti-Corruption Act was unlawful and requested that his client be released on bail under the provisions of the Bail Act. President's counsel Anil Silva, appearing on behalf of Rakita Rajapaksa, also moved for bail. Silva told court that although charges had been framed under sections 19 and 20 of the Bribery Act, his client had not committed any offence falling under those provisions, and that even if all the facts alleged were accepted as true, no such offence had been established. Counsel further argued that the certificate submitted under Section 149(1) of the Anti-Corruption Act was not lawful and submitted that the magistrate has the power to grant bail under the ordinary provisions of the Bail Act. Addressing the prosecution's suggestion that the father of the second suspect had used ministerial influence to facilitate the alleged crime, Silva told court that the father was now in no position to do anything. He submitted that his client therefore had no ability to influence witnesses or investigations and requested that he be released on bail. After another bail plea by an attorney representing third suspect Aruna Varusha Hannadige, Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodaragama rejected the bail applications. The magistrate noted that if the suspects were dissatisfied with the order, they were at liberty to seek relief from a higher court, or if there were a change in circumstances, to apply for bail again at the next hearing. He added that it was not the intention of the court to remand the suspects until the conclusion of the trial. Accordingly, the three suspects were further remanded until the 17th of July.
Peodale original කිරිතේවල වේ පවුඩර් නෑ වැඩි කෝප ප්‍රමාණයක් හදා ගන්නත් පුළුවන්.
In other news out of court, former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karannagoda was arrested by the Bribery Commission this morning in connection with investigations into the Navy's recruitment of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's son Yoshitha Rajapaksa, despite him not meeting the required qualifications. After being produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court, the former Navy commander was later released on bail.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption initiated investigations into allegations concerning Yoshitha Rajapaksa, son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and his recruitment as a cadet officer in the executive branch of the Sri Lanka Navy in 2006. According to the complaint lodged, Yoshitha Rajapaksa has failed to meet the qualifications prescribed by the Navy at the time of his recruitment. Moreover, Rajapaksa's participation in a training course at the Britannia Royal Naval College in the United Kingdom was deemed to be sanctioned outside of established state protocol prevailing in Sri Lanka at the time. The first suspect named in the case, Yoshitha Rajapaksa, was arrested on June 17th and later released on bail. Subsequently, former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karannagoda was summoned by the Bribery Commission to record a statement over Yoshitha Rajapaksa's purportedly unlawful recruitment. Soon after the statement, Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karannagoda was arrested by the Bribery Commission and consequently produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. Filing a report in court, Deputy Director of the Bribery Commission, Ruwini Wickramasinghe, claimed that while preparations were underway to recruit Yoshitha Rajapaksa into the Navy, the eligibility criteria for recruitment to the executive branch, the division to which the suspect was to be recruited, had been amended on 2 occasions. She further stated that the former Navy commander had recommended Yoshitha Rajapaksa, who was then a civilian, for a training course at the Britannia Royal Naval College in the United Kingdom. She also noted that the educational qualifications for the executive cadet branch was changed to match the suspect's qualifications. When the Colombo Chief Magistrate inquired into the prosecution's stance on bail, the Deputy Director stated that the Commission objects to bail on the grounds that the investigation was at its final stage and several statements were yet to be recorded. President's counsel Shavindra Fernando, making submissions on behalf of his client Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karannagoda, argued that the recruitment of the then President's son served to entice more recruitments at a time when the military yearned for more manpower. He also requested that his client be released on bail given the ailing health of his client's wife and the lack of a competent caretaker to look into her well-being. After considering submissions made by the Bribery Commission and the Defence Counsel, court ordered former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karannagoda to be released on 2 surety bonds of 2.5 million rupees each. The court also imposed a travel ban preventing the suspect from leaving the country. Further legal proceedings are scheduled to resume on August 4th.
This was a විශිෂ්ටත්වයේ අභිමානය People's Leasing විශ්වාසයේ ප්‍රමුඛයා.
Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal today dismissed the revision petition filed by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's son, Yoshitha Rajapaksa. Yoshitha Rajapaksa had sought a ruling that the conspiracy charge in the case filed against him by the Attorney General before the Colombo High Court under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act cannot be maintained. A two-judge bench comprising Court of Appeal Justices Amal Ranaraja and Dr. Sumudhu Premachandra issued the order.
Apico Next Gen, තප්පර ගානෙන් නින්දට වැටෙන්න.
Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena claims that a bad judiciary can devastate a country faster than natural disasters. Addressing newly enrolled magistrates at the Sri Lanka Judges Institute, he stressed that no international donor or external assistance could restore a country if it is undermined by a failed judiciary.
People with good repute, competence and knowledge can only be recruited, can be enrolled as attorneys. And thereafter also, once you enroll, your burden does not end. You have to keep maintaining it, otherwise there will be problem. So having said that, this is about the sovereignty of people. Sovereignty has four major components. The legislative power, the executive power, the judicial power, and then franchise. So we are the third, the judicial power. Judicial power of people. So you as the judge exercise on the bench what power? Judicial power of the people. You don't bring that power from your home, nor do we give you power. It is not the JSC which gives you power. Then who gives you power? The people. For whose benefit? Benefit of the people. That has to be borne in mind. So the independence of the judiciary also belongs to people. And why? To preserve the independence of the judiciary in you for the people, not to preserve independence of the judiciary for yourself, centered only for yourself. Some people think, oh, I am a judge, I am independent, there is a thing called independence of the judiciary, I can do anything I like. No, you see how difficult your job is. It is not by natural disasters that a country can be devastated and destroyed. Country can be destroyed by a bad judiciary also. A bad judiciary will destroy a country in less amount of time. If that happens, no international donor or no international help will recover the country.
Welcome back. Now in other local news, farmers across Sri Lanka continue to hold demonstrations calling for a fair price for paddy and solutions to other concerns looming over the agriculture sector. Protests stalled traffic along the A9 route at the Rambava junction in Anuradhapura. Against this backdrop, Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Land and Irrigation, K.D. Kanta, vowed to restructure Sri Lanka's irrigation infrastructure in a bid to improve the agriculture sector.
Farmers continue to hold demonstrations calling for the purchase of the Maha-season paddy harvest at a fair price that covers production costs. 25 farmers' associations in Madaragiri launched protests demanding a 150 rupee price for paddy. Meanwhile, a farmers' association based in Ampara launched a protest before the Ampara Divisional Secretariat demanding a fair price for their paddy. Protesters thereafter invoked divine intervention through a special religious service. Another protest demanding a fair price for paddy was held on the A9 route, stalling all traffic along the road from the Rambava junction in Anuradhapura. Subsequently, the protesters approached the Rambava Divisional Secretariat. At an event in Horo Patana, Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Land and Irrigation K.D. Kanta vowed to implement all possible measures to alleviate farmers' concerns despite numerous challenges impeding progress.
We have taken a policy decision to restructure the entire irrigation system of Sri Lanka. The President, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, has allocated the required funds. Several challenges confront the government. However, we will still strive to do the best.
Off the back of the these developments, the government decided to provide 50 modern paddy drying machines to cooperative societies across the country, with each machine reportedly capable of drying nearly 10 metric tons of paddy per day. According to the Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development, cooperative societies in need of paddy dryers may apply by filing a duly compiled project proposal. The ministry noted that the initiative will enable farmers to sell their harvest to cooperative societies at better prices, while cooperative members will also have convenient access to the drying facilities for their paddy.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa slammed the government of its inability to honour election pledges and called on the NPP to give up governance if it cannot provide a fair certified price for paddy as promised. He made these remarks during a discussion held at the opposition leader's office today.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa met workers across multiple fields today and discussed issues affecting Sri Lanka's labour force.
The phrase "farmers are suited for kingship" was dismissed as a mere proverb by the Minister of Agriculture. He went on to accuse the farmers of lying before the entire country. Why does the Minister of Agriculture ridicule farmers this way? During the presidential election, President Anukumara Dissanayake was marketed as a farmer's son on his way to seize power. Farmers were valued from that time until the government claimed 159 seats in parliament. But today they are being portrayed as a burden and as a group reliant upon taxpayer proceeds. Farmers are also being disparaged as moonshiners. They make such remarks since they know they cannot keep the promises they made. They have still not fulfilled the promise of purchasing paddy at 150 rupees per kilo. Today several ministers regurgitate the same promises while still failing to set a 120 rupees certified price for paddy. What is the purpose of a government that cannot set the certified price it promised? The government must give up if they cannot keep its promises. We are prepared to genuinely protect the country's farming community, safeguard the dignity of farming and ensure a fair and stable price for paddy.
Sarvajana Balaya leader and MP Dilith Jayavira called on the government to urgently introduce a subsidy based on production cost as a short-term measure to address ongoing issues concerning the paddy sector. He made these remarks during a meeting held today in Kurunegala district, where he engaged in discussions with farmers regarding their concerns.
A delegation led by Sarvajana Balaya leader MP Dilith Jayavira visited the Ambanpola area in Kurunegala this afternoon and held discussions regarding the challenges faced by local farmers. During the visit, MP Dilith Jayavira also inquired into the infrastructure and other local issues affecting the area.
Claiming that not every farmer is fit for kingship, only those from the upcountry, has to be one of the most disrespectful political statements ever made in this country's history. The real issue is that you are not receiving the minimum price you deserve for a kilo of paddy. If we are to solve this problem, we must face it honestly. So far, politicians may have viewed this issue through the lens of their own political interests, but I can assure you that never before has a politician been so disrespectful and insensitive. We have one proposal for the government. The long-term solution can be addressed later, but right now the government must intervene to solve this crisis and protect farmers. To do that, the government should provide farmers with a subsidy for every kilo of paddy in line with the increased cost of production. There is no other solution.
The government that came to power by promising to stand with the farmers is now demeaning farmers. The farmers of this country work on behalf of the entire population. It is not only our stomachs that are filled. Through agriculture, the sovereignty of this nation is protected. Otherwise, we would become a nation that has to beg from the rest of the world.
Farmer concerns and paddy pricing took centre stage in the political arena today.
What is the government's policy on farming communities? Let's take a look at a statement they made before coming into power. It was Namal Karunaratne who brought farmers to Colombo to stage protests. Where is he today? Minister Lanka is insulting farmers. Wasantha Samarasinghe, who initiated rice imports, should be held responsible for this situation. Statements made by government ministers contradict previous remarks made by President Anurakumara Dissanayake. They have failed to provide a certified price for paddy and fertilizer. Following this failure, they are attempting to intimidate farmers through verbal attacks and thuggish behavior. Everyone has taken the side of the rice mafia. We must wonder if they genuinely advocate for farmers. I urge farmers to compare the price of fertilizer now with the price of fertilizer under the previous regime. Farmers are well aware of the purchasing price and the volume of paddy purchased during the last harvesting season. However, opposition activists who also happen to be farmers ignore these facts conveniently. This is a matter being exposed at the moment. Farmers face unprecedented grievances today. The government doesn't seem to be sensitive to the matter. Instead, they make derogatory statements directed at farmers.
In other news, Litrogas Lanka reduced prices of its domestic LP gas cylinders, with new prices set to come into effect from midnight tonight. Accordingly, the price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder was slashed by 300 rupees, with the new price settling at 4,465 rupees. A 5 kilogram gas cylinder is priced at 1,792 rupees, a decrease of 118 rupees. Meanwhile, the price of a 2.3 kilogram gas cylinder settled at 835 rupees, following a decrease of 55 rupees. Welcome back. Now in other local updates, the number of dengue cases reported from across the island surpassed a whopping 57,000. The National Dengue Prevention Unit claims that around 1,200 dengue cases were identified yesterday alone.
Dengue cases continue to spread rapidly across Sri Lanka, with the total number of cases reaching 57,688 so far this year. As rampant infections ail many, the death toll from dengue reached 35 today.
57,688 cases have been reported so far. 52.46% of cases were reported from the Western Province. Significant numbers were also reported from Gaul and Mathura. We see no drop in the number of daily infections. Around 1,200 patients were identified yesterday. Badulla, Kurunagala and Puttalam too record a significant number of cases.
Taking this critical situation into consideration, the government designated the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of July for dengue prevention. Accordingly, dengue prevention programs were seen across the country today. State institutions located on Hector Kobak Kaduamavata in Battaramulla were inspected for dengue mosquito breeding sites today. During such inspections, the discovery of dengue mosquito breeding sites at a parking lot of the Department of Samurdhi Development prompted health officials to file legal action against those responsible. As public health officials cracked down on schools for lackluster efforts in combating the spread of dengue, several principals were implicated in legal proceedings filed by public health officials over mosquito breeding sites in school premises.
Many principals claim that the authorities are not collecting garbage from their schools. Local government authorities demand separate charges. As a result, principals face the brunt of the issue. Government officials must not be punished over the failure of local governments to fulfill their garbage disposal responsibilities.
Meanwhile, public health inspectors assert that legislative instruments must be immediately bolstered, since existing laws are not sufficient to mitigate the spread of dengue.
Abandoned residences where owners are overseas, and those who purchase residences in urban areas but do not reside at the residence have become a major threat to dengue mitigation. Existing laws do not permit the inspection of aforementioned areas. We request the government and local government authorities to pass strict laws. Such laws are imperative to take action against abandoned residences and irresponsible owners as we attempt to mitigate the spread of dengue.
Sri Lanka was ranked the #1 island destination in the world in the latest list of world's 50 best islands to visit, published by international renowned travel media outlet Big 7 Travel. According to the publication, Sri Lanka secured the top spot for the stunning coastline, picturesque Central Highlands, world-famous tea plantations, rich cultural heritage and biodiversity. Yala National Park and the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Sigiriya were highlighted as key reasons for the island's top ranking. In another major recognition, Unawatuna Beach was ranked 26th in the Big 7 Travel's list of world's 50 best beaches, further strengthening Sri Lanka's reputation as a premier global travel destination. In other news, to mark the International Day of Women in Diplomacy, Sri Lanka's parliament hosted a special meeting between women ambassadors and heads of female diplomatic missions serving in the country and the Women Parliamentarians Caucus. The event highlighted the vital role of women in advancing global peace, security, sustainable development and equal representation in international decision-making. Chairperson of the caucus and Minister of Women and Child Affairs, Saroja Savitri Polraj, delivered the welcome address. The meeting also featured an exchange of experiences on strengthening women's leadership in diplomacy, politics and governance, while reaffirming a shared commitment to closer future cooperation. In your business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed in negative territory today as a result of price losses in counters such as Lanka Holdings, John Keel's Holdings and Royal Ceramics Lanka. The benchmark SPI fell by 0.19% to close at 22,178.73, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 decreased by 0.17% to end the day at 6,194.22. Market turnover was 1.5 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers of loading shares worth 157 million rupees. And now here's a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. In your world news, Iran has begun 6 days of national mourning for former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei more than 4 months after he was killed in strikes blamed on the United States and Israel. His body will lie in state at Tehran's Grand Musalla before a state funeral on Saturday. Millions are expected to attend ceremonies in Tehran, Qom, Iraq's holy cities of Najaf and Karbala, and finally Mashhad, where he will be buried next Thursday at Imam Reza Shrine. The funeral comes as fragile ceasefire between Iran and the United States remains in place. Attention is also focused on whether Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei will make his first public appearance at the ceremonies. In other world news, at least 32 people have been killed and 16 others injured after an overcrowded passenger bus plunged into a ravine in southwestern Pakistan. The bus was travelling from Quetta to Peshawar when it crashed into Dansar mountain range near the border of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at around 8 a.m. local time. Officials said 48 passengers, including women and children, were on board. Rescue operations were slowed by the rugged terrain, while the injured were taken to the Zob district headquarters hospital. Authorities believe that the bus was overloaded after picking up passengers from another vehicle that had broken down. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.